It is the enchanted state, Mr. Chairman, but I'm from Arizona. Mr. Markham, in your testimony, you highlight the importance to protect the sage-grouse habitat, but also the measures presented in the draft EIS would cause significant costs to several cooperatives, if not all, specifically the cost with having to bury, and one of the alternatives, bury the power lines. What do you consider to be durable mitigation measure for the sage-grouse?
Doable mitigation, did I hear it correct? Doable mitigation measures?
Durable, that's the last.
Okay. Well, as far as going back, I think that we have our overhead lines that have been placed for years. We need to be able to maintain those right-of-ways the way that we've existed. If you go in and underground power lines, you're going to be disturbing the habitat much more, I believe, than if with your overhead lines. And so we just ask that we have the ability to access that infrastructure to do our legally required maintenance, and we can work with the land agencies on minimizing and mitigating any impacts of our vehicles and work that we have to do on the line.
I asked that, Mr. Markham, because the effort, a large-scale effort being undertaken by BLM right now to conserve sage-grouse and potentially preclude them from being listed as a species. So the final listing determination is going to hinge on the strength of the conservation measures in the state plans. The reason I bring that up is you testified that burying power lines would cost $400,000 per co-op member for the Harney Electric and $241 million total for Central Electric. But has there been any calculation to the cost of the alternative, let's say, having to comply with an ESA if the sage-grouse is listed? It's not listed at this point. And side question, you know, it's a shock number, $400,000 per co-op member. Is that cumulative over a period of time or one shot?
No, that's a one shot, but then you have your ongoing costs of maintenance of those lines in the future.
So you're telling me that as a consequence of BLM's planning that somebody would receive a $400,000 rate increase for that particular mitigation?
Well, conceivably, yes, because that's the kind of expense you're looking at to underground transmission and distribution over in Harney Electric service territory. And so in essence, it would put that co-op out of business because members can't pay that kind of.
So complying with ESA, if the sage-grouse is listed, have you calculated what that cost would be?
No, we have not.
So it could be more than 400,000 one shot?
What's that? I'm sorry?
It could be more than the 400,000 increase at one shot?
Yeah, yes.
If it's listed?
That, yes, it could, yeah.
So your point earlier that it would be good to try to work through this now would,
Yeah.
for all parties concerned, would be important.
Yeah.
Mr. Neal, give me some examples as people talked about. Some specific examples where when you have two different regional, district, or local level land managers providing you with a different opinion.
I can give you an example. When I was here 8 years ago, when I worked with the Tano National Forest, it was probably the most difficult forest to work with to get approvals. We could not maintain the utility corridor, and as Randy mentioned, it's an arbitrary line between two ranger districts because the district ranger is the authority there, and we couldn't remove trees. Our company spent $3 million, keep going back to the same facility to remove trees within the right-of-way that were all ponderosa pine that will eventually grow into the power lines anyway, and so you're eventually going to have to remove them anyway as time goes on. There's a change in leadership in the Tonto in the last 3 years. The person that's a forest supervisor there today is Neil Bosworth, and he is one of the most accommodating forest supervisors. That he's looks at us as a partner to work with and to manage the vegetation. And that's really what we need to get to, sir, is that there is common sense approach that Mr. DeFazio mentioned earlier. But, you know, when you have that change in leadership, those are the examples that we have to deal with as a manager of the vegetation on the corridor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.